Okay, so now we're into the second podcast of the course introduction for Texas History 001, Spring 21. So, as I said before, online course, no in-class meetings, but I hope to meet with a good portion of you over the course of the semester via Zoom. Now, the readings, I want to talk about that for a second. The Andrew Torchett book, Seeds of Empire, this is a classic book. It was written about 5 years ago. Torchett, he grew up in Houston. He's an Aggie. He went to University of Virginia for his PhD. This is a very serious book about the origins of Texas as Texas goes from being a Spanish province to a U.S. slave state. And what I want to point out to you is that this book is available online through the UTSA library. Um, I know a lot of you don't have a ton of money, and I'm completely sympathetic. I was the same way when I was in graduate school. And if this is, if you're looking for a way to cut costs, the Torget book is, like I say, it's online. You can access it online for free via the UTSA library. Chris Tomlinson Hill. Uh, Chris Tomlinson is a reporter, and he is from Texas, and he grew up in a part of Texas. He's white, and his ancestors owned slaves. And the descendants of those slaves still live in the Waco area, an area of Texas a little bit south of Waco. And one of those descendants is the great NFL and TCU running back, LaDainian Tomlinson. And so Chris Tomlinson has written a story of the area of Texas where he grew up. He's written a story of his family, and he's written the story of the slaves, the African Americans, who also lived on this land. And he just doesn't talk about their time in slavery. He talks about the post-slavery experience of African Americans and whites in this part of Central Texas. One of the things I like a lot about this book, although it's written by a white guy, a reporter, it does have the voice of African Americans in it. Tomlinson's very careful to make sure that whenever he finds the voice of the Black folks that lived in this area of Texas, that he puts it in the book. So I've included that book because by looking at Tomlinson Hill, not only do we understand slavery and post-slavery in Texas, it's a microcosm of the African-American experience really in the South as a whole. But we're going to focus on Texas. So it's well written. It's a very clear book. And like I say, most importantly, it has a lot of African-American voices telling their story, not just their story being told by somebody else. The Gwynn book is Empire of the Summer Moon. It's a wonderful book about the Comanche in Texas, and it's a way of talking about the Spanish period in Texas. It was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. And the story of the Comanche in Texas, the Comanche dominated Texas from the 1720s really until the 1880s, especially West Texas. And it's an important story that needs to be told. The reason that there's not much of a Comanche presence today is they were driven out of Texas into Oklahoma by the 1880s. So what we're looking at in the course in brief is the African-American experience with Torget, Seeds of Empire, the Anglo and the Tejano experience in Texas, because of course the Tejano experience, hugely important. Texas was Spanish from really the time of Columbus until 1821, then it was Mexican until 1836. So that's a hugely important history, and also the history of the Comanche in Texas. Now, there's a movie that I want you to watch this semester. It's called The Searchers. It's a movie about the Comanche, about an Anglo woman that was kidnapped, and it's loosely based on a true story, the story of Cynthia Ann Parker. You can rent this movie. I'm very aware of cost in this course, and I try to keep it down. But you can rent this movie on Amazon, and you don't have to be an Amazon member. You can rent this on Amazon, and there are other platforms for $3.99, or it's on a DVD at the UTSA library. And we're not going to watch that for a couple of probably towards the last third of the semester. So if you see any issues with renting that movie, just reach out to me and we'll figure something out. I am going to post other readings on Blackboard that don't show up on the syllabus. So you'll be doing more reading than just what you're seeing here. I just wanted you to make sure that you had a sense of what you needed to purchase or access. And again, let me remind you that the Seeds of Empire book is online at the library. Okay. So as I said before, the reading that I posted, there's going to be more reading than just that. So don't feel really bitter when you look at the course schedule and you see reading that's not listed above and think, that guy, I knew he was a liar. He sounds like a liar. All professors are liars. I'm just letting you know that in under the required readings, I just wanted you to know what you needed to buy and what you needed to access. Okay, you know what? I think I'll stop the podcast now, and then in the next one, catch up and talk about the grades, because I know that that's what you're most interested in, which is perfectly appropriate.